Welcome back to this week's episode of MLM Renegade. Today, guys, we're going to talk with Brad Gibb, who is the genius behind Cashflow Tactics and knows more about what's going on in the world of money than anybody I've ever met. So here's the million-dollar question. How are network marketers like us, who've tried everything their upline ever suggested to be successful and yet still struggled, who grew up with technology and aren't stuck in the 20th century, how are we supposed to grow our downlines in our bank accounts and yet still have time for real life? My name is JR McKee. Join me as we explore how to use 21st century learning and technology to grow our downlines and build lasting wealth. Simply put, this is MLM done different. Welcome to MLM Renegade. All right, guys, welcome back in. I'm, this morning, this interview is really timely with all the craziness going on in the world and with all of the government stimulus, $2.2 trillion coming out. We have with us this morning is Bradley Gibb. Bradley runs with a couple of business partners, Cashflow Tactics. And Bradley is a financial advisor, financial guru. He is the guy. And if, everybody who knows the Russell Brunsons of the world or the Stephen Larsons of the world, Bradley is their guy when it comes to helping them manage their money and manage how they are going to build wealth long-term into their future over the next, call it 5 to 10 years, and how they are going to be financially free, which is, I know, what everybody's looking for, definitely what I'm looking for in that journey that we're on. So Bradley, hey man, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me on. I'm excited about this. These are my favorite conversations.
Yeah, they're fun. It's always funny to see people just geeking out over finances. Now, Bradley and I share a number of things. He actually only lives about 20 minutes south of me here, although we're all in self-quarantine for the most part. So, right now is an interesting time in the world. But right now, I mean, just this week, the Congress passed this $2.2 trillion stimulus package, and a big chunk of it is for small businesses. So maybe just help me understand kind of where some of the people who have a small business, they have an LLC, what they can do to get a hold of some of this to make life a little easier.
Yeah, awesome. We actually just did a big training on this, so we'll just push to that resource as well. So we have a free Facebook group. The video will be there. There'll be other places if you follow me. I'm going to be pushing this information out everywhere. But the basic idea behind it is there's kind of three main pieces to it. If you're a business owner, and business owner doesn't mean what you think it means. If you have a legal entity and you have revenue that goes into that entity, you're a business owner. Like, you don't have to have an office building. You don't have to have logos and signs and HR teams and everything we think about that comes with, like, if we left the employee world, we don't have to try to replicate what we left from. We just have to follow the rules that are there. So if we have an entity and it had revenue, we have potential to get some of this stimulus. So the first piece is the COVID-19 response. It's a two-part piece. It's a $10,000 grant, and you don't have to repay it. If you qualify for it, they send it to you, and that's it. It's just literally as close to free money as you can get. And there's a 3-page form that you fill out. It takes about 7 minutes to do. All you need to know is your revenue from the last year, some of your expenses, your EIN number, your date of incorporation, and a couple other personal pieces of information, and you fill that out. And we don't have the details of exactly like how they're going to choose who gets it or how it goes, but that's 10 grand that they'll just literally wire to your account, and then you get it. The second part to that is they're wanting to push more money into the economy through loans through the SBA. So that's attached to an SBA loan application. You don't have to take the loan, but they're making loan proceeds available on terms that we've never had before ever from a business loan standpoint. So that's an option, not required, for that $10,000 stimulus. Then the second piece is what's called the Payroll Protection or there was 3 Ps. I don't know what the third P is. Plan, there it is. Payroll Protection Plan. And this is it's called a loan, but it's actually a grant as well. So you can get up to 2.5 times your prior payroll given in a loan. And then as long as over the next 8 weeks, you deploy that capital where they want you to, which is payroll, rent, interest, or utilities, basically the things that keep the lights on for your business, as long as you spend it within 8 weeks, you do not have to repay it. The only part you have to repay is the part you don't spend over the next 8 weeks. So, and it's not even the next 8 weeks, it's 8 weeks from when you get funded. So that one we can kind of strategically line up. And there's some caveats to that, which probably beyond the scope of this. And there's details there, which is why if you go to our free Facebook group, there'll be a hour-long interview I did with my CPA, me going through my business, filling it all out and understanding what to do there. So those are two pieces, unprecedented. They've just gone directly to a business owner and said, here is cash. Please continue to grow your business. Please continue to keep the economy running. Thank you very much. That's
okay,
it.
So for the small entrepreneur, somebody who literally has an EIN number,
yep,
and can show $1 of revenue, right? They can go on and make that claim. Is that right?
They can. Yep. Whether we'll get it funded or not, we just don't know what they're going to talk about, right? Like how they're going to determine qualification for it, right? But what we're recommending is if you give them an entity with no revenue in it, they're going to look at that and say, well, why are we stimulating a company that doesn't have any revenue, right? It's not going to make much sense.
Sure.
But if it had revenue in it, even if it's a side hustle, even if it's a hobby.
Revenue equals sales, guys. Literally, like take what you made in sales, in dollar sales, total those up. That is revenue. And
it is not limited. I misspoke. I want to really clarify this, right? You don't even have to have an entity in place. One of the options in your dropdown is a sole proprietor, meaning you as an individual got paid to do something for somebody that was not W-2 work.
That's 1099 for everybody who's listening, which means if you have a network marketing business and you got paid a commission, you get a 1099.
You can claim that.
Yeah. So question for you, Brad. If, for example, I go into my network marketing company, I go and I sell $10,000 worth of stuff and I get a commission on that. That's not $10,000, obviously. Is my revenue the amount of stuff that I sold or the amount of commission that I got back?
The amount of commission that you got back.
Okay.
Yeah, we can't gross it up, right? With if we're selling someone else's product. Now, if you have an e-com business, you technically could do some of that. I would recommend, again, we're not getting any indication that it matters how much money you make. You just need to be making money. And so, and you don't even have to be profitable. They don't ask for profit. You could lose money in your business, but if you had sales, you can fill the form out.
You can fill it out. Cool.
Yep.
The, one of the things I think is really interesting with that is it's free money. Like, go and get it. Now, here's one caveat. They earmarked, I think it was $10 billion. That's with a B, which sounds like a whole awful lot of money. Mm-hmm. But there are something like 45 million small businesses, and $10 billion divided by $10,000 is 1 million. So literally 1/45 of the small businesses could actually get it. And so go do it fast. In fact, in the description for the podcast, I will tag the SBA place where you can go and do it, the online that you can fill it out. Brad said it took him about 7 minutes. And I think that's about what it took me. Actually doing my back of napkin math to get my revenue, I think, was the hardest part. Yep. But other than that, it's so super easy. So Brad, apart from all of this, for a long time, you've been helping Russell Brunson, Stephen Larson, some of the other luminaries in kind of the online digital marketing space, especially, but also other entrepreneurs to manage their money or how they manage their money. Walk me through a little bit of some of kind of those key tenets that you like to share with people.
So that's a big question. I don't even know where to take a bite of that. But you mentioned the Russell Brunsons, right? And when I got introduced into this world, I entered the world because I wanted to learn how to market, right? I wanted to learn how to sell better. I needed that skill set. And for the first couple of years, I knew Russell. I was in his inner circle, and I hung around just kind of in the back, quiet, assuming that all of these very successful entrepreneurs did not need my services or education around money, because if you're good at making a lot of money, then you're financially educated and no one needs what we need. And it wasn't until about 2 years in that had a massive realization that the skill of making money and the skill of keeping that money and having that money grow for you are two completely fundamentally different skill sets.
Sure.
And actually the better you are at making money, it almost makes it harder for you to have the skill set of keeping it and growing it. They're very different skill sets as well. And so it wasn't until like 2 years in that I realized everybody was waiting for me to tell them what to do with their money. Like they were all just as nervous to talk to me as I was to them about it. There's like, because money is the thing like we don't really talk about. Like we'll say how much we grossed in our business because that's fun and sexy to talk about, but nobody opens up and says how much they actually kept, right? Or the concerns or issues they have. And I had a real conversation with Russell about it that you know, he kept thinking that the more money he made, then it would make his money problems go away. And he, in front of the entire inner circle group, is $100 million plus business owners. He's like, I was dead wrong. The more money I make, the more stressful it gets. Because then it's not just about me. It's about my contractors and it's about my employees and it's about their families. And it's about the more I make, the more I have to lose. And the more concerned he was getting about money. And that's when we came in and really started working with him to understand how money works, understand, and then build a strategy for the entrepreneur. Because that's the gap we're looking to really fill, is like anyone listening that has an entrepreneurial bone in their body at all should at least resonate with this. Some point along the way, whether it was in grade school, if you learned it early, or maybe college or in a job, if you learned it a little bit later, we as entrepreneurs realize at some point of the game, we're different, right?
Yep.
Right? That we don't fit into the box, right? We don't fit into the classroom box. We don't fit into the cubicle. We don't fit into the degree, whatever it is, what the rest of the world is out doing. And actually in the inner circle, we started to affectionately refer to non-entrepreneurs as the muggles, right? Like those that don't have...
Oh no, that's terrible.
It's terrible. But those that don't have this superpower of making money, right? It literally is a superpower to be able to generate your own revenue. Most people don't ever build that skill set and they can't do it. So those of us that are entrepreneurs, we don't fit into the box. But if we leave that box and we get ridiculed by family for doing it, and we get told that we're irresponsible or that we're reckless or that we're never going to amount to anything because we're not following the traditional path, if we do that and find success in it, guess what the advice is for us to do with our money? Go back to the box we just left and do what all those people are doing with their money. Like, do you see the disconnect there?
Yep.
Like it doesn't work. And so you need a plan that's specifically designed to support you as an entrepreneur and get the goals and the outcomes that you're looking for. Because we all want financial security, but because we operate our life differently, we have to set different targets for it. And so coming in with guys like Russell and Steven and like a good number of people in the inner circle, and then obviously a huge entrepreneur following that we have, that's what we work to do, is to put that plan into place so that we can understand as we make more money, how do we keep the money that we're making? And then again, as entrepreneurs for our objectives, what's the best way to grow that? What are the vehicles that we need to use? What are those pieces and elements that are necessary?
That's fantastic. So as you're, so kind of tell us about some of the things that you offer for the solopreneur or the small entrepreneur, which is a lot of what our audience is. I mean, obviously, Hopefully I've got some bigger ones, but yeah.
And so I want to get people over their own complex of, well, I'm just a solopreneur and I just am only this and I'm only making this amount of money. Like if you're making any money, you're a business, and like recognize that what you have in front of you is, like I said, it's literally a superpower. Okay. Even if it's just a side MLM business that I'm making a couple $1,000s a month, like that is real money. And it can really fundamentally shift and change your financial situation if we know how to use it. Okay. So the first thing that we look at doing, and this is the hardest thing to communicate, which is why I love coming on a podcast, because I get a chance to have the conversation, because without some context, people look at me and say, oh, Brad does real estate, or Brad does insurance, or Brad does taxes, or Brad does this. And because we're trained that financial success is external to us. We have to trust somebody who's smarter than us, and we have to buy the right product, right? The right advisor, right product equals financial security. It's the basics of what we're taught. Is that making sense?
Yep.
Okay. Unfortunately, that's not the truth. Okay. And I'll say it this way, like, no matter how good you get at mirroring what Warren Buffett is doing, like if you try to build a portfolio that perfectly matches every single move that Warren Buffett makes, you will never be a billionaire like Warren Buffett is. It's not what Warren is doing. It's how he is doing it and why he is doing it. Okay. We can't just copy paste. We have to understand how wealth is created in the first place. And so what we start with, everybody, is we start with what we call wealth strategy. We have to know the moves. We have to know the rules of the game. We have to have an understanding of what game we're trying to play. And when we get that, and we call it a game plan. So we come in, we have somebody come in, we get an understanding of where they are. We help them define and clearly set a target around what financial freedom is. And then we reverse engineer your plan. And what you walk away with looks like this. Okay, JR, is this realistic? Like if you're trying to grow a business, would it make sense to grow a business if you never set a goal for how much revenue you want?
No, of course not.
It'd be impossible, right? But in our financial life, do you have a clearly defined target that says this is what financial freedom is for me?
Of course.
Okay, you do because you were friends and we talked. The average person has no idea. The average person is just told, max out your 401ks, max out your IRA accounts, diversified portfolio, stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, then cross your fingers and hope it all works out.
Yep.
But they're never told what the finish line is, right?
Sure.
They're only told the inputs and then wait.
And just to that point, I literally just pulled up my 401k, which I shouldn't do, especially given the current times. It has lost 15% since the beginning of the year. 15% of the total value evaporated thanks to the market getting wiped out, which is honestly better than I thought it was.
That you're doing better than a lot of people are, to be honest with you, right? But again, had you pulled that up, do you even know if you're winning or losing? Like, do you know if you're on track for retirement? Do you know if you're ever going to be financially secure? Like, it's just a number with no context to it, right? So the first thing we do is we help you determine what we call your strike number. Okay, this is the target, the measurable outcome of saying, if I hit that, I'm financially free.
Yep.
Okay, and then we reverse engineer, and everybody leaves based on our formula. The way we look at the framework of financial freedom, if we mirror what the wealthy have actually done, anyone, regardless of age, income, prior experience, no matter where they're starting from, you can be like, we helped a dude in 4 years get out from underneath $450,000 of student loans. Okay. It does not matter where we start. If
4 years and $500,000 student loans.
Yes. Because we understood money, we understood taxes, we understood leverage, and we understood investing.
Okay. Well, you and my wife, you and I and my wife need to have a conversation clearly. Cause when we had this conversation last fall, I told my wife something, cause I thought, I studied economics. In fact, we share an alma mater, right? So that's cool. But I studied economics there, which the economics school is really good.
Very, very good.
I studied economics. I suffered through, and I still tell this story sometimes, I suffered through 3 years of electrical engineering in college before I realized that I hated it. and I literally had a professor in the business school. I was working full-time, going to school full-time. I was married. I had a young child at the time. And he literally asked me, why I was doing it. Just straight up to my face. And he was a customer of mine. So I'm sitting at work and he's asking me, why are you doing that? And I couldn't come up with a good answer. And he's like, so maybe you don't need to do that anymore. And he gave me the courage to literally walk away from an entire semester's worth of classes. And I took 15 credits of F, or actually it was unofficial withdrawal, right? UW in one semester. And I switched to economics because I like money, and economics is teaching money and how money works. And now I'm not doing that because I have a 401k, and so I feel sufficiently shamed. But that's no,
we're gonna connect. I love economics as well. Like that's what I secretly geek out on. The gap though between economics is there's a huge gap between the theory that is economics and then how do we actually do it as an individual, right?
Yeah, because economic theory says that markets are rational, and anybody who's paid attention to the stock market in the last 6 weeks knows that that's not true right now.
Right. And so my unique combination of I have an economics degree, but also an accounting degree. And accounting is like the tactical implementation of economics. And so I've been able to kind of uniquely sit in this bridge position of, all right, what do we do with this? Now that we understand what it is, what do we do with it? Right.
Yep.
And circling back to this game plan idea, everyone needs to win in anything, business, life, basketball, whatever it is. To win, you have to know what the target is. We have to know how to keep score. Right. So we set up the target. And then, like I said, anyone, regardless of where you're starting from, we build a 10-year plan from wherever you are to financial freedom. So now we've got a 10-year outcome that we're shooting for. Then we break that down. This sounds very reminiscent of personal development or of business planning in general. We're going to break your 10-year vision into a 12-month objective. So now we know what has to get done in the next 12 months to have us be on track. Then we're going to take that 12-month objective and break it down into 90-day targets, right? The overwhelming thing about money and finance is I have to have millions of dollars to retire, but I only have 50,000 today. And there's no guidance in how do I bridge that gap? How do I go from where I am to where I want to be, right? Now a game plan is the most important thing you can have because we can only do one thing at a time. We can only do the next thing that we need to be doing. And if we have those 90-day targets and they're clear and they fold into a 12-month objective and then into a 10-year outcome, we can stay on track and we can measure. Are we moving there? Do we need to make adjustments? How are we doing? And we can build toward that. That's what we come in and do. And it's specifically designed and created for the chaos and the uncertainty and the amazingness that is an entrepreneur's life.
Yes.
And then with the plan, it's very easy to step back and say, what products will make, like that just falls out of it, right? That becomes very easy and simple. Doing it is very, very easy. It's not that complex. It's the strategy that everyone's missing.
Yeah. Oh man. Awesome. There's so much to unpack here. I mean, this is terribly relevant for, what's happening right now, everything that's around us. I mean, we're all, you and I are both locked up at home with kids, right? Yep. And we're dealing with things. And this is so relevant because, I mean, apart from the PPP or the emergency SBA stuff, I mean, $10,000 is $10,000. Like $10,000 could make a pretty significant impact on my personal income. And that doesn't even go to speak to all adults that made less than 150 grand as a married couple are going to get $2,400 and plus $500 a kid and everything else. Like there's more money there. Like there are options for us right now that the government is trying to help us, which is a good thing. Generally speaking, I like the government to stay out of my wallet, but if he's trying to push money into it, I'm okay with that.
I mean, if I don't take it, someone else will.
Exactly.
But here's what I want to pose, because you said something like $10,000 is going to have a significant impact, and then another $1,200 to $2,400 plus $500 a kid. Like this could add up to real money. But the problem is for the average person that receives any of this, it's not going to make any difference.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a plan. They don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to make it have an impact. And that's why, that's why I do what I do. And I'm going to humble brag for just a second, but it's to make a very specific point. Like I very much believe in the adage, why did I hire Russell Brunson and why did I hire Stephen Larson? They've proven that they're amazing marketers. Like Russell has $1 billion company. He can probably teach me a thing or two about marketing. Right? So I don't ever follow anybody who is not living what they're trying to lead, right? I don't follow somebody who is not getting the exact outcome that I want, right? But think about money. How many people are following advisors that they themselves are just as broke as you are? It doesn't make any sense, right? The very first question you should ask the person you're taking money advice from is, are you rich? And if the answer is no, you should probably not follow their advice because it's not going to work out. Right?
Yep.
And so what I'm going to share here is I'm going to tell you that from my definition of rich, I'm rich. I'm financially independent. I'm 39 years old, turning 39 years old, and I don't need my business. I don't need a job. I don't have a dollar in the stock market. I'm financially independent. I've done it, right? And so but then when I say that to people, they're like, Brad, like, why are you doing this? Well, like, if you're financially free, why aren't you sitting on a beach and not doing anything? Well, to me, there's a big difference between financially free and lazy, right?
Yeah.
I'm not lazy. I don't want to inspire people to be lazy and sit on a beach. But this, like, what inspires,
or at least not for extra long periods of time.
not for the rest of my life, right?
Yeah.
I have a lot left to do here still. But the reason why we do this is money is not the outcome. Money is not what you want. $10,000 will not change anything. What will change is understanding that money is a tool to get us our outcome, to get us the thing that they want, right? So if we can learn to use that as the tool and not make it the end pursuit, then things really change. And what I love seeing happen is, what if I can come in and build somebody a game plan and empower them with this tool of money, they can go change the world in ways I never can, right? I've got my one unique nerdy skill set that I can understand a tax bill, right? Or I can understand some of these pieces, but there are skill sets that I badly need in my life to change my own life, that I need an entrepreneur to go start a business and be empowered with money and make a profit so that they can do that for me, right?
Yeah.
As I look out, like, from my house, I can see the freeway, and you understand what happens on I-15, except for right now it's empty, but normally it's back-to-back traffic all day long. And I look at that and say, how many of those people are actually living a life on purpose? How many people are out there doing it because they love it and they can make a difference, versus going out there to do that because they need a paycheck? And I envision a world where if I can free people up to not need a paycheck, they can go out and live on purpose with their unique abilities, with their unique skill sets, and change the world. That's why we do what we do. Even though I'm financially independent, I work more now than I did when I had a job, but it's because I'm so committed to that mission.
That's so good. Brad, this has been enlightening. We'll make sure that we get a link to Cashflow Tactics for you. But before I let you go, I mean, do you have anything for, somebody who wants to, get some more information or dip their toe in the water or understand how you can help them and learn some more of these things? Like, you enlightened me that, gosh, we can go in and with this the new stimulus package, you can actually take money out of your 401k without a penalty and without, are they going to withhold the 20% taxes? I guess that's the one question I had, but
there's way more we can do the taxes over 3 years. So there's lots of flexibility there. But,
oh, wow.
So yeah, if you're wanting, obviously we can't fit 10 years of financial education into a 20-minute podcast, right? So,
no.
So here's the idea. Like, again, I would say the most important thing you can get is a game plan. Before you spend much time doing anything else, it's getting a game plan and getting some clarity. Steve Larson calls it just-in-time learning, right? If I go try to learn everything about marketing, I'm never going to get started, right? If I go try to learn everything about sales, I'm never going to get started. I have to know what the next skill is that I need and then learn that one. Then I can then learn the next one and the next one and the next one, right? It builds. Financial knowledge is no different. So we've got to get a game plan. So what we do, we have a free Facebook group, Cashflow Tactics. If you go to the Facebooks, I'm really terrible at social media. So however you go on there, you can go to cashflowtactics.com/group, and that'll redirect you right there, or just search for it in the Facebooks. But inside there, we do two things. The first thing we want you to do is take our 5-day challenge. And the 5-day challenge is meant to help you, guide you through how to build a game plan. Guide you through, we help you determine what your strike number is. We help you get clear on where you are right now, what things you have, what's working, what's not working. We help you set that 10-year target and then begin to build those steps in the middle, okay? So it's really meant to get you the perspective we need to then start saying, where am I lacking? What do I need to start learning? So inside the Facebook group, you can get that, or you can just go to cashflowtactics.com/5-day challenge, and you can either put the number or the word, both redirect to it. The 5-day challenge. It's like 20 minutes a day, and then you get a little tool that you can do it with. It's pretty simple to navigate through, but it brings into focus what we need to be working on. That's the best thing there. And then if you join the group, that's where we're dumping all of these continued conversations, right? Like I just recorded an hour-long training with my CPA about all this tax stuff. It's going to be in there. That's where we go and we train. Like we've been doing COVID response stuff, the last little while, but we, before that we were doing tax trainings. We talk about real estate. We talk about cash flow. We talk about business. That's where the conversation is happening. And so those would be the two places. Both are free. Because again, for us, we're looking at it and saying, you shouldn't spend money unless you have a plan to know what you're going to get for it, right? So we give that away. We get you involved so that we can then say, this is how we're gonna help.
So good. Awesome. Cool. Well, Brad, I really appreciate it. This has been one of the more enlightening. I mean, I geek out over this stuff, but one of the more enlightening podcast episodes I've had in a while. But any parting words for us before we let you get on with the rest of your day?
Just the one thing I would say is, especially in the conversation of money, but everywhere in general, if you're trying to change your life, no matter what it is, whether it's to grow a business, to have a side hustle, to start a new successful sales get, lose weight, whatever that is. And even especially if it's in money, you're going to feel like you're alone, right? You're going to feel like you're the only one that's trying to do that. But the great part about your community, our community, the internet in general, is you never have to be alone. You're not the only one dealing with these issues. You're not the only one. Like when I had that conversation with Russell Brunson, he was making several $1 million. His company was on the way to $1 billion valuation, and he had the same questions, right? So get out there and get surrounded, no matter where it is, right? If you're trying to learn sales, get into a community where people are learning sales and get the support. Don't go back to your regular group of people who are going to look at you and be like, why do you want to do that? That sounds risky. I wouldn't do that, right? Go and get yourself into a community and a tribe that's going to support you in that, okay? And then
Awesome.
Your tribe for money should be Cashflow Tactics. Find your tribe for sales. Find your tribe for marketing. Find your tribe for business development. Find your tribe for losing weight, and put support around you, because you're not alone in this battle.
So good. You guys, that is Bradley Gibb. He has been amazing. Brad, thanks so much for coming on with us. And everybody check out cashflowtactics.com or Cashflow Tactics. If you search it on Facebook, it pops right up. Join the group. Become part of the community. Find your tribe. You guys, that's all we got for today. Take care. Hey, thanks for listening, and please remember to subscribe. And if you loved us, leave us an awesome review on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you consume your podcasts. Now, if you'd like some free training for your team on how your recruiting efforts can be bettered and brought into the 21st century, go to podcast.mlmrenegade.com and get your copy of the Renegade Recruiting Kickstarter.